What happens when a bitter political feud spills onto the cricket pitch and threatens to blow up a World Cup? Well, we're going to dive deep into how the battle for Bangladesh cricket got to this absolute boiling point.
All right, I want you to picture this. It's January 15th, 2026. You're at the Sher-e-Bangla National Stadium for a huge match in the Bangladesh Premier League. The place is completely sold out, the crowd is roaring, you can feel the buzz in the air. It's shaping up to be a perfect day for cricket. But then, nothing. The teams don't come out. The toss for the match never happens. The stadium is just silent. The players, in a really shocking move, have gone on strike. They've brought the biggest tournament in the country to a grinding halt. So, the massive question is, how did it get this bad? Why would an entire national team risk their careers, their reputations, and even their shot at the World Cup? To figure that out, we have to find the one spark that lit this whole fire. Now, you might think this was about money, right? A classic player-board pay dispute. But nope. The immediate trigger, the thing that really kicked all this off, was a series of wild public comments from just one guy, a director at the Bangladesh Cricket Board named N. Nazmul Islam. Okay, so for this to make sense, you need a little context. Tamim Iqbal, who is a living legend in Bangladesh cricket, basically suggested, hey, maybe we should just talk to India and sort this out. Sounds reasonable, right? Well, for saying that, director Nazmul Islam went public and called him an Indian agent. I mean, that is a huge, deeply insulting thing to say, and it just sent shockwaves through the cricket community. And oh, he was just getting started. As the board was threatening to boycott the T20 World Cup, Nazmul made it crystal clear who would pay the price. He basically said, the board has plenty of money, they're set until 2027. But the players, they'd be the ones losing their paychecks. It was a total us versus them power play. But this was the final straw. He actually suggested that if players don't perform well, maybe they should pay back the millions of dollars the board spent on them. For a professional athlete, that's not just an insult, it's a fundamental attack on your entire career and your dignity. So you have to be wondering, why was the board being so aggressive in the first place? What was going on behind the scenes? Well, the answer goes back a few weeks earlier to the biggest and most powerful cricket league on the planet.
For anyone who might not be deep in the cricket world, let me just say, the Indian Premier League, the IPL, is a massive deal. It's the financial heart of the sport, and the Indian board that runs it, the BCCI, holds an incredible amount of power globally. Getting an IPL contract can literally change a player's life.
And on January 3rd, we saw exactly how much power they have. The BCCI told one of its teams, the Kolkata Knight Riders, to just terminate the $1 million-plus contract of Mustafizur Rahman, Bangladesh's star bowler. They gave no real reason, just this cryptic line about what's been happening all around.
So, as you can imagine, the Bangladesh Cricket Board did not take that well. They fired back hard. They went straight to the top, to the International Cricket Council, and demanded that all their World Cup games be moved out of India and over to Sri Lanka instead. The official reason they gave? Security concerns. Yeah, the battle lines were officially drawn.
But here's the thing you have to understand. This whole mess wasn't really about cricket. What was happening in the boardrooms and on the pitch was just a symptom of a much, much bigger political crisis that had been simmering for months.
Let's rewind to August of 2024. The government in Bangladesh, which was led by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, a very close ally of India, was overthrown by massive student-led protests. She actually had to flee the country and went into exile in India. By December, the new government in Bangladesh was demanding India send her back, and at the same time, attacks on minority groups there were causing a lot of anger in India. The whole situation was a tinderbox, just waiting for a match.
So you see the shift? The relationship between the two countries went from being super close to openly hostile, almost overnight. All the trust was gone, replaced by suspicion and public spats. And all of a sudden, cricket was no longer just a game. It had become the new battleground for their political fight.
Okay, so now that we have all that political context, let's jump back to that empty stadium on January 15th. The players are seeing their own board getting dragged into this huge political war, and on top of that, they have a director just publicly demeaning them. They were completely stuck and felt like they had to do something drastic.
And their plan was so simple and so powerful. First, through their union, they made their demand crystal clear. Nazmul Islam had to resign. Second, they issued a threat. If he's not gone, nobody plays, period. And third, the action. When the board didn't move, the players followed through.
boycotted their games and shut the whole league down.
And you know what? It worked. The player revolt was so united and so effective that the board just buckled. They really had no other choice. They quickly announced that Nazmul Islam was being removed from his duties, including his very powerful role as chairman of the finance committee. The players had won their battle.
But winning one battle doesn't mean the war is over, not even close. While the players had managed to force a change inside their own house, that much bigger international fight between Bangladesh and India, with the World Cup hanging in the balance, was still at a complete and total standstill. So here's where this whole tangled mess stands. Bangladesh is refusing to go to India for the World Cup. India has already flexed its muscles with the IPL, the ICC, the global governing body, says it's not moving the games. And the players, even after their big win, are just caught in the middle, with absolutely no idea if they'll even get to play in their sport's biggest tournament.
At the end of the day, this whole crisis has really exposed some deep, uncomfortable fault lines in the world of cricket. It shows just how quickly geopolitics can poison the game we love, and it's a stark reminder of how the financial power of one country can send shockwaves across the entire sport.
And that leaves all of us with one big, nagging question. When you've got boards digging in their heels, players' careers hanging by a thread, and the fans, the people who make the sport what it is, are just caught in the crossfire, it really makes you ask, when a sport becomes a weapon in a political fight, does anyone actually win?